Oh, le terroir, la notion de terroir, de terroir.
Some people say that terroir is the dirt. Some people say that it's, you know, the climate.
I think that's something that could be used in a very broad term or used in a very tight term.
The idea of terroir is to be able to, you know, have a signature style.
It's a difficult question to really like pin down.
You know, it's that. Yeah. So the combination, it's like a cocktail coming together.
I don't know. Should stop. I don't know how to put my words on that.
Terroir is a made-up French term for them to sell wine. That's my impression of terroir. I'm just kidding. So my name is LINO BOZZANO. I'm the Director of Viticulture for LAETITIA Vineyard and Winery. We're standing in the LAETITIA Vineyard right now. I'm a third generation California farmer. My family is, you know, Italian American. Came over in the 30s and started a farm, and wine's always kind of been on the table, and it's something I grew up with. This is a vineyard.
Yeah, this Pinot Noir.
Yeah, that's Pinot Noir. Here's an interesting tidbit. You can tell what is a red or white grape. It came off the vine as the vines are dropping. What color is it? So red grape, red, and white grape come off. Now, whether or not terroir exists in California, I don't know. I'm skeptical. We haven't, you know, we've only been doing grapes here, you know, I'll give you 100 years, right? And that's being very liberal with that. I know that, you know, wines do take on characteristics of the site. So, you know, terroir isn't something that I'm ready to go out on a limb on. It's there. I think of, you know, it might just, it's just grapes take on the site and that's what it is. But it's hard to say when like a vineyard like Highlands, where we have 27 different varieties, you know, do you have terroir for Grenache, but you don't have it for Merlot, you know? So I'm kind of, I don't really understand where that goes.
So my name is Andrew Jones. I'm from Los Osos, California, and I got a little winery in Paso Robles called Field Recordings. And I'm not into titles. I just, you know, I got a guy that works at a winery, makes wine. Do a little bit of everything from, you know, janitor to forklift driver to winemaker to, yeah, a little bit of everything. I didn't come from a wine family at all. Like, my family always worked in building materials. Like, nothing. It just was like, I saw things that looked like they would be fun and something that I wanted to do and try out, and I ended up really liking it, and I ran with it. So that was sort of how I ended up in wine. I've kind of a messy winery, and that actually is part of the terroir. Like, we don't have, like, we don't make wine by numbers and everything. Like, things are a little bit like, just we kind of let it go its course and see what happens. And, you know, it's and that it attributes to the terroir, because that's, you know, our personalities in the end product. You know, the wines aren't made in a laboratory. We don't, like, there are, you know, I have some flawed barrels here and there, but those like little flaws like add nuance to the wine. The Field Recordings wines are, you know, a snapshot of that place, those people over that time period captured in a bottle.
I am Kurt Shackler. I have been making wine inside this glorious building in Santa Maria, California here for a little over a decade now. Focused mainly on Rhone varietals, but at this point in my career probably have made any varietal you can name. A fair amount of Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Cabernet, Tempranillo, Zinfandel, but mainly focused on Rhone varietals. For myself, I believe that terroir has really come down to cellar practices and consistency. So I've got somebody help me in the vineyard now, Mr. LINO BOZZANO. So we're trying to fine tune everything in the vineyard, trying to be more consistent there. So I'm starting with a really consistent basis of high quality fruit off every site, bring it in here, and then in here we're fine tuning all the barrel practices, winemaking practices. I can say that inside the cellar, we have adopted the barrel program that, once I take a barrel and I first fill it with a wine from a certain vineyard, it never gets filled with a different wine from another vineyard. In France it's very easy to talk about terroir because of all the regulation. Wines are grown the same, wines have to be made the same to be classified in this area. To be a Chateauneuf de Pape, to be a wine from Pondru. You come here to California, it's a wild, wild west. Like, you have one vineyard next to another, you can hang 6 tons the acre in one, the one next door you're hanging 2 tons the acre. So how do you talk about terroir when things are that different? Then you get into the cellar and it's how wines are made. It's just, I think we have very broad factors like weather and soil types right now that we can kind of say this is different here, this is different there. But to be honest, I'm not really too sure if most of that, after fine tuning is probably mostly what's done in the cellar. All I can say is we're trying to wrap our head around that terroir question as much as possible, keeping things as consistent as possible, and cellar practices the same, oak regimen the same, oak barrels only filled with the same juice year after year after year. It's going to take a while to drill down and make that terroir really, what is that? Kind of a long-winded answer, but it's a big topic.
My name is Xavier Nodin. I'm from France. I'm starting working with Kurt 5 years ago, helping him out with all the Grenache, Shiraz and Mourvèdre project that he started in 2002. I'm the winemaker assistant for this company since 2010. La notion de terroir, the terroir, that's where everything starts, everything begins. That's where you get the most information regarding your grapes and your wines. The terroir is that's the ADN of the wines, and we live through the terroir. That's everything is behind the wines. If you think you make the wine into the cellar, you fool with yourself. The terroir, the terroir brings you the grapes and I don't know. Should stop. I don't know how to put my words on that. The terroir make the wines. We don't. Fermentation is fermentation. We know magicians. The terroir is everything.
I'm Gary Burke with Costa de Oro Winery and Gold Coast Vineyard, and my family has been farming in the area since 1978. My father, Ron Burke, and his partner, Bob Espinola, started out farming lettuce, broccoli, cauliflower, so row crops. In 89 and 90, we planted 30 acres of the Gold Coast Vineyard, all Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and I've been making wine since 1994. Started out at Au Bon Climat and Coupé, and started Costa de Oro in that year with a barrel of Chard and a barrel of Pinot Noir, and today we make around 7,000 cases. We are pretty minimalist in our winemaking processing, so what we're trying to do is let the fruit express itself. And the way I look at that as well is, when you listen to music, it's not always about technique and who's the best singer or who's the best guitar player. It's more about having a unique expression. And I think year in and year out, that's what we're trying to achieve. So, you might not think Mick Jagger's the greatest singer in the world, but it's him when you hear it. And that's how I think of our wines, is I want people to go, I taste Gold Coast there. And so I think to do that, you have to stay out of the way and not manipulate the wine too much.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Grinke. I am the production manager here at Brewery TERROIR. Previous to making sour and wildly traditional beer, I was a winemaker on the Central Coast. For a number of years I worked with Jason Stevens Winery, Clos Lachance Winery, and I worked a lot with Saint Lige Winery. Terroir is a tricky not word, but concept. That there's a lot wrapped up in what people think terroir is. For myself in particular, I think of terroir as a multifaceted thing that's really hard to describe, but I'll do my best to try. I think your terroir, you look at setting, you look at place, and you look at people. The setting would be it's just being the environment where the vineyard actually is, its surroundings, the geography. And then I look at place as actually being something that is more intuitive than just where it's at, like the place in the placement of rows, the actual type of soils, the actual weather nuances that affect different vineyards. We've worked with a couple of vineyards this year that are, shoot, 15 miles away from each other, but in completely different types of growing regions, from ocean influences to cool desert nights and warm midday desert temperatures. So there's a lot of differences in the actual place and then as well as in the soils. I also look at people because when you're making wine, you have these great relationships with growers, and they do one thing for you, and they do probably the most important part, and that is like getting something out of the ground and turning it into a fruit that you actually want to work with. But actually in the cellar, there's people too. There's the makers. Your winemakers definitely have vision, and they steer a product to bottle, years down the road. And a lot of winemakers say that they're just taking care of the grapes, and they're just really trying not to screw it up. But really, there's a lot of technical vision that comes in, and that is all the way from the winemaker to the guy who's handling the barrels, the lowest guy on the totem pole. Not that the barrel guy is the lowest guy on the totem pole, but everybody involved. There's a camaraderie. There's a feeling within the building. There's something to be said. I have personally seen, a really disjointed cellar take fruit and not make great wine. And I've also really seen, a team that really works together, that has an objective, that loves to play a certain kind of music on the radio while they're making this wine, actually have a product that might be better at the end than all of the sum of its pieces. So, like I said, it's a really hard thing to describe, but I think it's super multifaceted, and it means a lot of different things to different people. But to me, I kind of look at it in those kind of areas: the people, your actual setting, and then the place, what's going on in the place itself.
That guy.